From the heart of Hawkeye Nation comes the show that dissects the plays, debates the calls, and celebrates the victories. This isn't just a podcast. This is your unfiltered access to the mind of two diehard fans. They live and breathe black and gold, and they're here to give you the honest, raw takes you won't find anywhere else. Get ready for deep dive analysis, passionate debate, and a unique perspective on the team you love. This is Punting is Winning with JD and Keith.
Welcome back, Hawkeye sports fans, to another episode of Punting is Winning, your all-Iowa podcast. We are your hosts, Keith and JD. Welcome back to another February edition of the podcast. Regular season starting to wind down. Yep. Feels like it just started, that's for sure. I don't know. It just has gone by really quick. That and football season, they seem to go by so fast, but then the lead up to both of them takes forever.
Yeah, it just seems that way, doesn't it? It just, yes. Wow. Yeah, you're right. I felt like the basketball season has just so quickly it went by. It just blink of an eye and you're almost to the March already and you're going to start tournament play. And it just seems like it, but blink of an eye, it'll be over. So
think about it. It was almost 2 months ago now that Iowa played their last football game. Yeah. It doesn't seem like that's been that long ago.
No.
So, yeah, time just certainly flies. But let's take care of some business. Last week's question of the week was give us your idea of where you think the Iowa men and women's basketball teams will land in the NCAA tournament seeding-wise. Got a 2 to 3 seed for the women. I think that's probably fair. And I think after the weekend, unless they completely fall apart, I would say a 3 seed is very, very possible. I would be surprised if they didn't get a 3 seed. They might even, if they play well enough, they might work their way up to a 2, perhaps.
They have to do a little work in the Big Ten tournament, I believe. They need to get to I would say if they get to the championship game and lose to UCLA, who is probably the odds-on favorite to win it, I would say you're looking at a 2 seed. Worst case scenario, 3 seed. I would think he would have 3 seed locked up at that point. You got to take care of Illinois. You got to take care of Wisconsin on the road. You have to win, at least because they'll be in the top 4. So
there'll be a triple
well, double because they only have 15 teams.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, not like the men where they all 18, but so they would have a double bye, and then they would probably, they would have to win. They'd have to. In my opinion, if they want to get a 2 seed, they have to
they'd have to get to the championship.
They have to get the championship game, and they have to play UCLA relatively well. Otherwise, I think a 3 seed is really kind of more realistic. But a 2 is not out of the possibility. They just have to really play well the rest of the season. I
don't disagree. I think regardless, unless there's an absolute utter meltdown, which I don't foresee happening, they'll be hosting. So I don't think in that case, I don't know that the seeding really matters that much. Whether you're a 2 or a 3,
it does after the first weekend.
Well, but I mean, regardless, if you're a 2 or 3, you're playing the 2 or the 3 potentially anyway. So I don't know that unless you're a 4 would be the worst.
Yeah, because
then you're into that 1-4 matchup potential. Whereas at least with a 2 or 3, you're still playing regardless. I mean, I don't think that really matters if you're a 2 or a 3. You want to avoid the 4, so you want to get to at least a 3.
Yeah. And right now they're sitting at number 9 in the rankings, so that puts them at the first number 3 seed.
Yeah, which I think that if they actually,
that's how they do it.
I think if they actually put the seeding out there, they probably would jump Michigan based on the head-to-head.
Yeah. It depends on how Michigan. They've got a couple of tough games coming.
No, I'm saying if it happened today.
Yeah, if it happened today, but.
So they're basing it on Michigan being 8, Iowa being 9. I would say the committee would probably flip-flop them based on recency bias of Iowa just beat Michigan by 18.
Yeah, but all of this is a waste of time and waste of energy if they don't go out and win the next 2 regular season games and do some damage, at least win their first couple games. I don't know. It'd be 2 games in
a double bye. Is it just a 4? So they would start on, was it Wednesday? So Wednesday, Thursday.
So Iowa wouldn't play until
Friday. They'd have to play Friday, Saturday, and
Sunday.
And Sunday if they could make it. So they have to.
Yeah.
They have to win 2 out of the 3.
Well, yeah.
And play well enough in the third to probably lock up a 2. I would think.
Yep. So they'll be playing 3 games in the tournament if they continue to win.
Yeah. And for the men's side, I think they're probably at 8 or 9 right now at this point. Maybe, their net ranking helps them, but
it does help. But if you go out and lose to Penn State on the road,
yeah, you cannot do that. You can't
or lose to Ohio State at home.
Beat Ohio State. You can lose the final 2, or you can lose the 2 against Michigan and Nebraska. Not saying I want to, but you can probably lose those 2 and still probably stay on the 8-9 line. You lose one, you lose Ohio State, you lose those 2, you beat Penn State, you're probably looking at a 10-11.
If I was to put money on it right now, just based on the way I've seen things going, I would say Iowa will be lucky to be a 10 seed. They want to stay out of that last 4 in, where you have to play in game. You don't want that at all. You want to be a solid 10.
If you're not going to be a 7 seed or higher, you better be a 10.
Yeah. Yeah. You don't want that 8-9 matchup.
No.
That would be ridiculous. But by the same token, you don't want to be the last 4 in and have to play, that play-in game like we did about 10 years ago, or whatever it was.
Honestly, I don't think I think the bubble is so weak this year. I don't think they're even close to that.
This Ohio State game that they play on, is it Thursday, Wednesday? When they play Ohio State Wednesday, that could determine a lot between those 2 teams.
Yeah.
Because right now they're sitting deadlocked in the Big Ten at the same record. So, you win that one, you kind of put yourself a game ahead of them, and then a game ahead of them again, because that way you've got the tiebreaker.
Yeah.
So you really, first thing you want to do is you want to secure that top 8 seed in the Big Ten tournament so you can get a double bye, because the top 4 get triple bye because of the 18 teams getting in. So that let's worry about that before we talk about the big dance and worrying about the 8, 9, 10 seed. You do some damage in the Big Ten tournament. You could climb, or if you go out and lose the first game, you could drop. It's just, there's a lot of variables, a lot of games left. There's, there could be a lot to be determined in these last 2 weeks.
Yeah. The good thing about, potentially getting a double bye is you're looking at the team you're playing. Your first round has already played 2 games. So they're weak, with little weaker legs, but they do have the experience of being on the court.
Yeah.
Which I felt has always been kind of an advantage at times when those first, I
think statistics.
I want to play somebody who's played the same amount,
if you look at the way these things have gone in the last few years, the teams that have played multiple games usually end up beating a team that has sat and watched. And so, that's an issue that, it bears to watch. You have to kind of watch that. And because, I don't know about fresh legs and weak legs. It's all about familiarity with the court and the shooting sight lines and that kind of thing, that you've already had game or 2 if you win before you ever take on the big dogs, and that could be to your advantage. So
yeah. Well, let's move on from that. Let's actually the next question of the week. We're going to go in a little bit of a different direction. We don't normally cover wrestling on this podcast. We stick to football, basketball, things that we have some familiarity with. We're not wrestling people ourselves. We weren't born into wrestling families, so we don't understand wrestling as well. But with the way this season has gone and the way the last 2 or 3 seasons have gone, the question of the week this week is it time for the Iowa wrestling program to start looking at possibly going in a different direction with the coaching staff?
Well, I will leave this to others,
so
and I will give my opinion on that when we get the next podcast.
Yeah. So
I don't want to sway anybody's thoughts.
Well, I don't think it'll be difficult to, I don't think you have to really worry about swaying people's thoughts. I think people are already there, but
there are some that are there for sure. Yeah, if you look at the Facebook pages very long, you'll notice that there's some discontent. How's that?
I will say this, and again, not being a wrestling family or anything, so we don't follow it that well. I think this is the worst wrestling season I can remember in my lifetime.
Yeah. Now, I can probably agree with that. I don't remember Iowa being this poor.
And it's not so much the losses, it's the way they lose. It's not like they're competitive in those losses. They're getting boat raced.
Yeah.
Guys that are supposedly All-Americans last year getting tech-falled at this point of the year, that shouldn't happen.
No.
So anyway, let's move on. Let's catch up on the women's side first, and then we'll hit the men, and then we'll talk a little bit about that graphic we showed last week, and you've done some more research into that, so we'll cover that real quick. But let's jump into the women's week this week.
Yeah, women had a 2-0 week. Let's start out with the Iowa win at Purdue. It was an 83-74 win. Iowa jumped out to a pretty good big lead and just kind of coasted towards the end, made it a little bit closer. Purdue came back a little bit, started hitting some threes. Iowa wasn't playing the greatest of defense. I think they kind of sat back and rested a little bit. Big Ava Heiden had her career high, tied her career high with 27 points. Not much you can say about this game. It was an 83-74 win. They kind of coasted, like I said. Good to get a win on the road anytime.
Yeah, here's the one thing that I think was probably the most disappointing to me. Taylor Stremlow had 19 points in the first half, never scored again.
Never had another point.
I don't know. Did she even take a shot in the second half?
Yeah, she was obviously 0 for a couple 3-pointers that she threw up, but nothing. Just did everything she wanted to do apparently in the first half and decided that everybody else should score in the second half. So,
well, there was a stretch there where nobody was. So have to back into the groove. But yeah, they, as close as the final score was, it really wasn't that close.
No, it really wasn't. But you got to finish games up like that, though. Yeah. You can't just get a big lead and then just say, "Oh, we've got this thing won," and walk away. It's just they didn't really. I don't think the motivation after they got up ahead by 23 or 25 points, whatever it was. There was no motivation left. I think they kind of felt like we've done enough. This is enough to win. We'll just play the game out and finish it up quick and get out of here. But to Purdue's credit, they actually made it a closer game than it really should have been. But Iowa didn't exactly push themselves as far as defensively on that at the end of the game.
And like I said, it's something that to me it's a little concerning that you lack the killer instinct of just wanting to put a team away early and just run away with it. Like, I go back to the beginning of the year, first Big Ten conference game against Rutgers. They just put their foot on their throat, stepped on it, and kept it there. Then it's just like, okay, well, they got up. On other teams, they get up 20, 25 points, and then just kind of sit back.
Yeah, like the Maryland game.
Maryland, yeah. I mean, granted, Maryland is a far better team than Rutgers or Purdue.
Yeah.
No offense to Rutgers and Purdue. They just don't have the athletes right now.
But still, you have a 15-point lead with 3 minutes and 46 seconds left, and you have to go to overtime to win it. That's what I call just kind of falling apart at the end. And it seems like they just have the hardest time getting the ball over the court when they have anybody that plays a full court defense on them. They just really struggle with that. And I hate to say that because, I don't want to give another team any ideas on how to defend Iowa. But Iowa needs to work on that. There's too much dribbling, not enough passing. You get to and you saw it yesterday when they played Michigan. Every time Iowa would run up the court, Michigan would funnel Iowa to the sideline, and then they would trap them just before half court. It happened so many times, and Iowa finally started to realize that we need to stay in the middle of the court because then we can throw to either sideline. If we go to one sideline, we're actually reducing what we can do because we're against the sideline.
Yeah, the sideline's an extra defender for him.
It is an extra defender. That's exactly right. And that's just something that they need to get. And I know they're young. There's a lot of young players playing, sophomores, freshmen. But, people like Kylie Feuerbach's a senior. She should know better than that. She should know to dribble to the middle of the court. She brought the ball up a few times where it was inbounded to her. Not the greatest ball handler that we have, but by the same token, she should know better as a senior. I thought Hannah played a decent game, not up to her standards. I'm sure she would admit she's a little hurt. I thought Ava Heiden, even though she had been sick, probably played the game of her career yesterday. Well, we're skipping, I guess, ahead to the Michigan game. So let's just move to that one. You didn't have anything more to say about Purdue, did you?
No.
Okay. So let's move to the big game. We yesterday on Sunday, Iowa beat number 6 Michigan in Iowa City, 62-44. This was a defensive struggle from the get-go. Had you seen more jump balls in your life in the first 5 minutes of that game? There had to have been 6 of them.
Yeah, they said that at one point there was more jump balls than points.
Yeah, I hadn't seen that too often, but you could tell both teams were amped. Both teams knew what was on the line. There was a lot to play for in this game. It was, Michigan right there, a game ahead of Iowa. That if Iowa wins, they're tied. Iowa has the tiebreaker because of the win, because they don't play again unless they play in the Big Ten tournament, and that's a possibility. So at that point, there was a lot of motivation to win, and I didn't think Iowa played a better defense all year than they played yesterday.
Yeah, that was a phenomenal
stifling
effort.
Yeah, I agree. They were, and you have to give Feuerbach credit for basically shutting down their top scorer. She didn't do hardly anything all day. I mean, they only had 44 points total. That is way below their average. In fact, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I heard them say that Michigan's 44 points was the lowest output all season for them.
Yeah.
And that's something to be said. That is a high scoring team. They probably played UConn the best game that UConn's played all year, and they gave UCLA a pretty good scare. So, that is something to behold, is to play them and beat them by 18 and hold them to 44 points. That is congratulations, Iowa. I didn't see it coming. I thought it'd be a close game. I thought it could go either way. I wasn't sure 100% that, depending on who shows up for Iowa, I didn't know how much they were missing Taylor McCabe for, shooting and that, but they weren't great early, but they played enough defense, a good brand of defense to keep them in the game and actually pull themselves ahead. And they had a 35-30 lead at the half and just expanded that lead after that.
I thought it was 27-20.
Oh, maybe it's 27-20. I know at 35-30 at one point in the second half. Okay, it was 27-20. You're right. So,
and not to just not to disparage anybody, I want to call out everybody. Everybody played good defense. It wasn't just Kylie Feuerbach. I mean, she locked down their best scorer, but it was everybody giving an effort. And Callie Levine coming in and just on a whim because she had to, and
right.
She played phenomenal defense, and in the one shot that she put up, it went in.
Yeah.
So she did her job, and
everybody kind of contributed to this. And I think there was a lot of motivation for that, to play that defense. If they have the motivation to play that kind of defense the rest of the year, the sky's the limit. But I know it takes a toll. It is very difficult to play that kind of defense. And also you have to get through that referee to know what the referees are going to allow you to do and what they can't, what they won't allow you to do. And they played physical yesterday. Yesterday was a very physical, and that crew allowed a lot of things. Now, there were some calls that I really questioned. The one on Chit Chat where she was blocking out and they called a block out foul on her. Jan Jensen went absolutely hysterical on that. And I have no doubt. I agree with her. That was crazy. And you watch the replay of it, and it was terrible. And then the other one was when the Michigan girl passed the ball to herself, essentially.
Yeah.
And they didn't call it.
I mean, she even knew she couldn't do it.
She knew she was backing away from it. And then at the very last second before Iowa got in, she pushed the ball away. I was like, you can't touch that ball.
Yeah, it's like she's like, I can't touch the ball, but I'm not going to let Iowa have a fast break. So I'm just going to grab it and kick the violation. Oh, well, they didn't even call it.
So, Yeah, I had to kind of question that. Even the announcers who were, decent, even said, "Well, they missed that one." So,
yeah, that seems to be a theme with Big Ten officiating in all sports, or any
yeah,
officials in all sports right now. Is they miss a lot anymore.
we can
And I don't
bash
know if
their
it's
officials all day long, but I thought, yeah, you were correct 100% when you said everybody contributed. Everybody that played did contribute, and even those that didn't play contributed probably. So, just by being a cheer, and the crowd, oh my God, it was a standing room only crowd. They were loud. They were,
they say that's 50th consecutive sellout.
Yeah, I mean, and I know Iowa had some recruits there,
mm-hmm.
and that had to
Perfect game for that.
That had to be, yes. That if the kids don't commit to Iowa after seeing that, then they didn't want to come to Iowa. Else. They're after money, or they are being recruited by some of the blue bloods like UConn or South Carolina, something like that.
Well, but that's just it. People might tell me I'm wrong, but I think Iowa's kind of getting themselves up into that blue blood status of women's college basketball.
Well,
maybe they're not quite there yet. Maybe they're in that quote purple blood, but they're pretty darn close. And I think when recruits look at the branding of South Carolina, UConn, UCLA, who's another one? Notre Dame, Texas, that are consistently good. They're starting to look at Iowa in that same vein.
Yeah.
And they know the support's there. They know that the fan support is there. If you're not committing, you either got an ulterior motive or there's something within the culture of Iowa that you don't like.
Yeah.
Because it can't be because of the fans, or you're just being given a bag of cash from somebody else to not stay. Which really worries me with players like, and I hope the culture is so ingrained in players that it doesn't happen, but the type of season like Ava Heiden is having leads to that, hey, here's South Carolina throwing you a bag of money. Come on, play with us now. Or UConn or whoever, trying to entice players to leave where they're at.
Well, I'm not going to pretend to know who Ava Heiden is, but I just feel like she is, she appears to be very happy and content where she's at.
I would agree.
And I hope that she doesn't go anywhere. And the same for Chit Chat. I think Chit Chat is a fantastic little player. She's going through a little cold streak right now. She didn't shoot the ball well yesterday. Addie Deal,
and I think she knows it.
Her time is coming. Taylor Stremlow, I hope she stays. I mean, there's some really good players coming up that is going to bring Iowa to the next level, even above where they're at now. And it's just, McKenna Wilichko coming in, and maybe this girl that was being hyped up that was at the game yesterday, if she decides to come to Iowa, Nation
Williams, I think. Williams.
And if you can pull those type of players and consistently do that, wow, you're not just gonna reload every year. You're gonna be like getting to the point where you are a blue blood like UConn, where you just get the top players every year to just come to your school and play for you. Yeah. That is my ultimate dream, to have that happen to Iowa, not only on the women's, but on the men's side. And I'm hoping that Ben McCollum, can do that, but we'll see how things go. But let's get back to Iowa women. Their first win. Where am I at here? Hold on. I got my notes here. They play their next game Thursday at home. They play Illinois. It is going to be an 8:00 game on BTN. And then on Sunday, they play Wisconsin. This is the last regular scheduled season game at 2:00. That is a Big Ten Plus. I'm sorry. A lot of times, though, if you're watching Big Ten Plus, you actually, if you don't have a Big Ten Plus subscription, you can find the game sometimes on YouTube. It might take a couple minutes into the game before they actually put it on there, but you can still, I've watched it a few times on that, because sometimes my Big Ten Plus gets a little jittery for me, and it's hard to watch. It just gets a little jittery. I don't know why, but and then you turn over and you can catch it on YouTube.
I would make the suggestion, if you do watch anything on Big Ten Plus, you just mute it out. It's better for your health.
Yeah. Those Purdue announcers the other night were so bad. I muted the TV And I wanted to listen to like 600 WMT or something like that over in Cedar Rapids. And they were far enough ahead that it was like you're watching it almost as a replay, even though it's happening in front of you for the first time. It's like, Heiden for 2 underneath. And then you sit back and you go, oh, okay, I see it now, 7, 8, 10 seconds later. So
I just mute it out and just watch.
Yeah.
I don't need to hear it.
Yeah. They were especially bad the other night. I don't know where Purdue's getting their.
There's been some, I'd say there's been some bad productions and bad play-by-play and color people, but that was
particularly.
At least know the players' names.
Yeah. What was it? Fishbach, I think, a couple times. Yeah.
Fishbach.
So yeah, the girls are in good shape going in. They got 2 games left, Illinois and Wisconsin on the road. Wisconsin's not going to be easy. They're a good team. They just have played a lot of really quality teams. So they're not looking the great. Their record is not the greatest, but they have pulled upsets. So you got to be careful at Wisconsin. You can't take them lightly at all. And then you get into the Big Ten tournament and you can do a lot of damage and get yourself a nice seed for the big dance.
Yep.
Moving on to the men.
Yes.
Last week's podcast, we had a podcast right before Iowa was taking on Nebraska in Iowa City.
Yep.
And it was an Iowa win, 57-52 was their first win over a top 10 rated team since I believe the Purdue game in the 2022 Big Ten championship game, was it?
That's right.
Yeah, so that was the first time that they've beaten a top 10 team in quite a while. Well, I don't know what got into them, but they were extremely motivated to play defense. I don't know whether it was they wanted to prove to Bryce Sanford that he made a mistake and should have stayed at Iowa. I don't know if that was motivation for him or they were just motivated because there was a top 10 team that they thought they could actually beat. And they really played
motivated because they'd lost 2 in a row.
Well, that too, that definitely could have had some pairing in the situation, but yeah, I probably played the best defense I'd seen them play all year. Like I said, they looked motivated. Bennett Sturts came through play after play, really had a nice game. What can you say? It was a motivated game. That was a defensive struggle. You're happy to get a home win whenever you can against whoever you can. And, beating Nebraska was a little bit of a cherry on top of on the Sunday. Anytime you beat the Cornhuskers is a good day.
It happens quite frequently.
It has lately, but,
yeah, we talked about how bad the wrestling season's gone. They still beat Nebraska.
Yeah, Nebraska's kind of fallen on hard times when it comes to playing against Iowa. They can beat everybody else or beat a few other teams, but they just don't seem to win. Yesterday, I knew this was an uphill struggle. I knew this was going to be a game that they just didn't match up really well with. They played Wisconsin tough. They lost 84-71 in the end, but Iowa did lead at the half. It was 41-40. Mm-hmm. But they had a hard time, and this has been kind of a recurring theme. Guards, they have a hard time with guards. I remember the kid from Indiana that scored on Iowa on a consistent basis. There was the kid from UCLA kid that scored.
No, not UCLA. Sorry, USC.
Yeah, he just scored at will on Iowa, like 30 points in the last, or when he had 3 average. They have a hard time with quick guards, and that Nick Boyd was a quick guard, and he basically put Wisconsin on his shoulders and carried them. He didn't have to do a whole lot. I mean, he did everything, but nobody else had to do a whole lot. And I don't think Iowa matches up well with them height wise anyway.
It didn't hurt that they were shooting lights out too.
Yeah, and our home. It doesn't hurt to be at home. Just
doesn't hurt when you don't get a foul called in the first.
Yeah, that's
in the second half.
That's true. That was very disparaging. The calls against Iowa and the nothing against them. Again,
I don't want to be that person, but I've watched enough basketball and I've watched enough of the Big Ten teams. I know what teams are very aggressive on the defensive side and very handsy. I mean, I probably counted, at least in the first half alone, that as quick as that Nick Boyd was, and I don't remember who the other guard was, but as quick as they are, they use that off arm to separate. And I mean, it's blatant separation. It's blatantly, and there was nothing called. That was like, that is supposed to be a point of emphasis, is that shove off to clear space has been a point of emphasis the last 2 years. The problem with it is that I have with it is officials will call it early in the season, but then they stop calling it midway through and late in the season. And it's like, how do you get consistency as a team or as a player? How do you consistently understand or try to get better when the goalposts move all the time on you? It's like, oh, well, this is allowed now, but last week it wasn't. And maybe next week it won't be again. You know, how do you get any consistency? And that's all I ask for. I don't care, you know, if like yesterday, let's say, you know, we're 14 minutes into the second half. Iowa's got like 7 fouls and Wisconsin has none. Okay, if that's legit, okay, great. You know it's not, because I watched the game with my eyes and I could see the fouls that were happening that weren't getting called. So, but if you're consistent and you're going to say, you know, Iowa fouled 5 times, Wisconsin fouled 2, or 7 times and Wisconsin fouled 2, and I could see that, I'm okay with it. But it's like, I look at, and I know sometimes it's with biased eyes, but I see things that are like, how do you miss that? You have to blatantly be trying to not call that to miss some of the things that they're missing. I don't know. I just, you know, there was one, I think it was, might have been Coop, was underneath the basket. Set, I mean, he was set in stone. Guy runs in, tries to avoid him, hip checks him, and they call a blocking foul. I'm like, how much more set do you have to be to get a charge? But yet you see things that elicit a charge in other aspects of the game. It's like, that's not even, I mean, I wouldn't have called that. I would have probably gone with a no call on that. I don't know. It's just, it's hard to watch sometimes because it happens, you know, and I think we talked a little bit about it. I said something to you in text about it, that this is one of the times where I kind of appreciated Fran's temperament in a way. Not saying I want a childlike temper out there, but I wish that McCollum was a little less of a nice guy sometimes and kind of give them an earful more than what we see, because I think they're taking advantage of him. Well, he's just a nice guy. He's not going to, you know, he'll say some stuff. We don't worry about it.
He's the new guy too.
Well, that exactly. But you've got to be able to stand up and say, look, this is BS. My guys are getting molested and nothing's happening. You know, and I think he did kind of say something in a roundabout way. I don't know if it was how it was really stated, but he said something in his presser about, basically he said something about the officiating, but I don't know if it was directly at the officials, if it was contradicting something Dolph had to say. I don't know. But I just think he would do that in the moment. Maybe not so much to the point where he gets a T, but push the boundary a little bit to say, I'm not going to let my guys get screwed here. I'm going to stand up for them. That's where I really did appreciate Fran. Fran always seemed to have his players back.
I think at this point this season, he's probably trying to build some sort of rapport and figure these guys out, and they're trying to figure him out. And it might be the same for Nico Medved and all the other first year coaches, the same thing. I do agree with you to some degree that if it's blatant like that, you probably should try to at least have a conversation in a heated manner, at least with one of the referees, not to the point of getting yourself, you know, ejected or a technical taken, but you need to voice your opinion on what's going on a little bit more than just saying, you know, having a conversation like you and I are having a conversation. The voices need to be raised.
Okay.
Yeah. There needs to be a lot more to it than that. But I wanted to mention something that we talked about last week is pace of play. And I thought about this and I was wondering if maybe I get your take on it. Do you believe that Iowa's pace of play is strictly indicative of the team that he has, because he feels like the team has to play a muddied kind of game in order to stay competitive because he doesn't have the horses that he thinks he needs? that to be competitive on a, to play the kind of game that he actually probably really wants to play? Or do you feel like he's just saying, with the horses I have, this is my best course of action to win games? And I think I have to have it be a situation where we slow the pace, we throw the ball around, we have to find good shots, we have to work it, make them play defense for 27 seconds. Do you feel like that's the kind of team he has right now, that down the line, if he starts getting these high quality players because Iowa wins, he starts getting these players, and then the pace of play may start getting a little bit quicker?
I think it's a twofold answer. I think his pace of play is predicated on trying to get the most efficient shot. Now, if he's got the athletes and he's got the players that he can get that efficient shot within the first 15 seconds or the first 18 seconds of the shot clock, pace of play would go up. But I think right now you're right. I think part of it is he doesn't have, I don't want to be disparaging to these players at all, but he's got a bunch of mid-majors trying to compete in the Big Ten. And he's turning them into better players that can compete in the Big Ten, but he's doing it in a manner of way that they can do it. They have to. It's kind of like Iowa football. The offense was so bad, the defense had to muddy things up to allow the offense to stay in a game. It's kind of the same in the basketball aspect. Not that their offense is terrible. I'm just saying that they are limiting possessions because, A, they don't have the depth. They don't have the athleticism. So the less possessions that you have to defend against, or the less possessions in a game, the more opportunity you have to stay in that game and to have the chance to pull an upset. This was what Todd Licklider tried to do, but he went for a complete extreme of it, of I am going to deflate the ball for 30 seconds. I don't care. I have to do that. Now, it didn't work for him. I think it will work for McCollum, because he's going to be able to recruit a better athlete than Todd Licklider did.
Yeah.
And he's going to be able to, he's got a better system.
Well,
he's got a better offense. He's got a better offensive flow to him than Todd Licklider seems ever had.
Right.
So I think, yes, you're right. As part of it is the athletes that he has, the team that he has. He's doing what he thinks. I think they're faster than Drake was last year, pace of play. It's not much faster, but I think he's doing it to limit possessions, same as Kirk Ferentz would do when he has an offense that doesn't click. He wants to limit the possessions as much as he can and muddy the game up so that you have a chance to win it. You're not going to see these, 45-41 offensive slugfests out of Iowa. You're going to see 17-14, 21-17, some of that, because the offense can't keep. So you're going to limit the possessions within a game. And I think that's the same thing that McCollum's trying to do now, is limit possessions, get the best, most efficient shot that you can to be able to stay in these games. Because I don't think if you tried to play a faster pace without that thought process of best, most efficient shot, I think he's getting blown out like France teams were.
Yeah, probably. I do want to say one thing though. I don't feel like everybody. I want to kind of go back a little bit on something you said. There are mid-major players that are playing mid-major ball, and there are mid-major players playing Big Ten ball. But I want to tell you, Bennett Sturtz was a mid-major player playing Big Ten ball. That guy is a very, very talented individual. He is definitely a Big Ten caliber player. No question in my mind. The only thing yesterday, he had 23 points, which is great. He's averaging well over 20 for the last several games. My only concern with him though was that he only had two assists, and he's our point guard. Point guards typically should probably get 5 to 6 a game, maybe 7 or 8 on a good night. He had 2. And I thought that might be something that needs to be have a little attention. I don't know what the story was with that particular, why he only had 2, but
here's the thing, and this
grabbed me.
This is why I see that being kind of more, in my book, more of a non-issue to me, simply because there's so much ball movement on a possession that the assists are being doled out evenly across everybody. So it's like he's not just sitting up at the top of the key and looking for the open man every time. It may be he's passing the ball off to Cam Magno. Magno sets a screen, gets it back to Sturts. Sturts gets it over to Fulgaris, and Fulgaris finds Isaiah Howard in the corner, and boom, there you go. And that's more what I see going on.
I don't think anything happens on the court unless it goes through Bennett Sturts' hands. And that's I agree with you on that certain point, but I think by the same token, he needs to be a little bit more, he needs to delegate to others more, maybe.
I think you're right in that aspect, but I think it's more about
out of necessity.
It goes through his hands to be the scorer, as opposed to being the distributor.
Because nobody else has stepped forward to say I'm going to be the scorer outside.
Nobody else
of
is that. Yeah, so nobody else is that reliable scorer like he is. Because you don't know. I mean, you don't know from one game to the next.
Yeah,
who's going to be your number 2 guy?
Yeah, that's true. Because we thought there for a while it was Fulgaris. He was going to step up and get us.
I think he could be
12 to 14 a game. Not necessarily. And then you think, Coop shoots the 3-pointer. If he shoots it well, he could be the guy getting 12 to 14 a game. Most of the time, these guys are getting 6 to 7 a game.
Here's the other thing you got to stop and think about. This is the first year for Fulgaris at a major high level. This is also Coop's first true year.
Right.
In essence, he's a freshman.
Right.
He might be hitting a little bit of a freshman wall too. Yeah. We see it a little bit with Tate Sage, although I thought Tate Sage played really well yesterday.
He did.
But he's had games where he's disappeared.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's just age and experience. It's the moment catching up with you. You've not played a grind like this for 30 games in a Big Ten schedule in your high school life, but that's for sure. Now, you've played a lot of games playing AAU ball, playing high school ball, whatever. But I don't know that it's, you're not getting – AAU is a showcase league. Yeah. I don't think you're getting the defense and the pounding that you would get in anything else. And the pounding that you're taking in the Big Ten takes a toll on you, especially if you've never had it before, if you've never been through that. And, you see that. It's prevalent. You've seen it with a lot of guys where they'll come out and look really, really great, and then they just hit a slump because it just catches up with them. And then they'll break out of it. They'll come out of it again, and they'll be like, okay, everything's back to normal. But there's always going to be that one spot during that, especially during your first season, where you're going to get ground down and you're going to start questioning yourself and your abilities a little bit. You're going to play a little bit more tentative. Now, this is saying the average player, and this is not like the 5-star kid that goes to Duke that is the All-American right off the bat. That's not happening because those guys just have the old God-given talent that Michael Jordan has sometimes. But the average D1 recruit, the 3-star recruits that Iowa is getting, or that a lot of the Big Ten teams are getting, that's happening a lot. And I've seen it, for years it happens. So I don't get too concerned about it. Now, if we're talking about a guy that's a junior that's been in the program for 4 years and this happens, yeah, I'm a little concerned. Like, yeah, he's probably not going to make it at this point. That's kind of the way I look at it.
Well, I like the young guys, the Tate Sages and Cooper Koch. Those are good players. I think they've got a lot of room to grow, and the ceiling is pretty high on those. They just need to grow into, and learn the systems and learn everything and just, figure out the speed of the game, and everything will slow down for them. And, I look for great things. I think Coop's going to be a really good shooter. He's going to be that kind of guy. I don't know if he'd be a Jordan Bohannon type, but he'll be good. He'll make more than he misses. And
he'll be a Joe Wieskamp type.
Yeah. Yeah. Somebody that you can count on to get 3 to 4 3-pointers a night and maybe, 18 points. I think he'll probably do that next year or even the year after for sure.
Unpopular opinion, but and I want to preface this by saying that Bennett Sturts is an All-American by no stretch of the imagination. However, with that said, I think guys like Isaiah Howard and Cale Combs will be better next year without him.
No, probably. But I know one thing.
That's just because they have to rely on him so much at this point. They're used to that.
Ben McCollum needs to go out and find himself a quick point guard, somebody that can handle the ball, distribute quick, makes quick decisions, and just understands, because, Ben Sturtz has grown up being a point guard, that he never played any other position than point guard. And so he's really, really good at it. And he's All-American, like you said. Guard. We need to get a guy that a kid in that since 6th grade or 5th grade or whatever AAU ball, that has been a point guard his entire life. And that's all he's ever done. And that's what he's used to and comfortable with. And that's the kind of guy you need to get in, somebody that's quick, that can shoot. And I know those guys aren't out there every day, but you got to go out and find them. You're the kind of guy that you've kind of self-proclaimed yourself as a point guard coaching guru. Then you go out and find the guy that you can replace, or, I don't know if you can replace Ben Sturtz, but the guy that's going to play point guard next year or the year after.
What they need is they need the male version of Chit Chat.
Yeah.
I mean, she's quick. She shoots well.
She's in the right places when she needs to be.
Now, granted, I would like the male version to be considerably taller, but
not 5'4". No.
Yeah, I don't need a Muggsy Bogues out there.
Yeah,
but,
no.
You know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
they need the equivalent of a Chit Chat style in a point guard for the men's side.
Right. So
I think you can find.
You can count on them to be able to bring the ball up without having to worry about getting trapped in a corner and that kind of thing, like we talked about earlier. Yeah. Let's move on real quick. Iowa's 19-8, and they play again Wednesday night, 8 p.m. They play Ohio State, who is 17-11. And then there was no TV announced for that, but I assume it'd be either FS1 or it'll be BTN probably.
I'm imagining BTN. But.
And then on Saturday, they play at Penn State. That is an 11 a.m. start. And Penn State is 11-17. So they're not having a great year, but they have played a lot of good teams tough. So you can't go in there thinking you're just going to waltz through this one and win, because they will take you to the woodshed if you don't watch
what Maryland did to you.
Yeah, exactly. No question. Okay. Moving on. We teased this last week. We talked about the overwhelming bias against, what I feel like is an overwhelming bias against Iowa when it comes to opening games for football in the Big Ten Conference, not season openers, but Big Ten Conference openers. And what I decided to do was go through every team in the Big Ten and just take a look at their records when they play opening games for the last 27 years, because the 28th year would have been next year and we haven't played those games yet. So there's only going to be 27 here. So I want to start with Iowa. They played. I
assume you can see that graphic.
Yeah, I can see it. Everybody else should be able to see it too. Okay, so let's start with Wisconsin, since they're at the top of the page. Now you got to remember too, I just said there's 28 games on here, but they haven't played next year's games, which I did include. So this is only games that have been played, obviously. So Wisconsin had a 9-6 home record in openers, and they were 5 wins and 7 losses in their away games. And that equivalates to a 60% win percentage at home and a 41.6% winning percentage on the road. So it does, for Wisconsin, it's better for them to play a home game. That doesn't always hold true for all these teams, I'll tell you that. Okay, so we go to Purdue. Purdue next. Purdue is 8-11 in their home games and 4-4 in their away games. And of course, that equivalates to 42.1% home winning percentage and actually 50% on the road. They win 50% of the games, 4-4. Penn State at home is 4-5, and on the road they are 10-8. So they're actually better on the road. And that equivalates to home games. They won 44.4% of their games, and away games, they won 55.5% of their games. So next on the list, Ohio State. Ohio State was 13-2 at home and 11-1 on the road. And that equivalates to 86.6% winning percentage at home and a 91.6% winning percentage on the road. So
I'm honestly surprised Ohio State has even got a loss.
Even then won. one.
Yeah.
And if you want me to later, I can look for that and see who they lost to on the road.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we have,
it's got to be early in probably the mid to early 2000s.
It was probably around 2006 or 2005, something like that, when they were struggling a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay. Northwestern was 5-7 at home and 5-10 on the road. And that's a 41.6% winning percentage at home and 33.33 on the road. Minnesota is 4-8 at home and 6-9 away. And that is 33% at home and 40% on the road. So they actually won better. They have a better winning percentage on the road than at home. Next up, Michigan State. 6-7 at home, and on the road they are 10-4. So there's a big discrepancy right there. So at home they win 46% of the time, but when they leave and go on the road for their Big Ten opener, they win 71.4% of the time. Next up, Michigan. Michigan is 15-1 at home and 9-2 on the road. And that is 93.7% winning percentage at home and 81.8% on the road. Next up is Iowa. Iowa is 5-3 at home and 10-9 on the road. And that is 62.5% winning percentage at home, and they are winning 52.6% on the road. Next up, Indiana. Indiana is 6-13 at home and 1-7 on the road. And their winning percentage is 31.5% home winning percentage, and they win 12.5% of the games on the road.
That probably happened last year or the year before.
Yeah. And here's the one that surprised me more than any of them combined, probably twice as much as any of the other ones combined. Illinois. Illinois is absolutely putrid when it comes to their opening games. I mean, they're terrible. Here, I'll tell you, here's an example. When they play their home opening Big Ten season games at home, they are 3-13. And when they play them on the road, they are 2-9. They have
5 wins in 27 years on the home openers.
Their home openers are putrid. They have a 18.7% winning percentage at home and an 18.1% winning percentage on the road.
Well, at least they're better at home.
Yeah, not by much. So there you go. Those are the 11 teams that I was able to do the home and aways with. I don't know if anything shocks you there. I think the Michigan State at 10-4 on the road, they play much better their opening game on the road than they do at home. And then the Illinois thing, that surprised the crap out of me. I can't believe that they are that poor when it comes to season opening Big Ten games.
Here's the thing that probably surprised me the most. There were 3 teams in this entire matrix that had a winning record on the road and at home. Michigan, Ohio State, and Iowa.
Yep. And I will tell you, Ohio State's away loss, we talked about that earlier. Their away loss was to Northwestern in 2004.
Oh, wow.
And they had 2 home losses. In 2011, they lost their opening game to Michigan State. And they have another loss on the road. Let me see here. That was their home loss. Other home loss was in 1999. They lost their opening game to Wisconsin. So there's their 3 losses.
And that was the year Wisconsin was
Ron Dane.
I think they went to the Rose Bowl, won a Rose Bowl.
Yeah.
Year in 99.
Yeah.
I remember they just absolutely throttled us.
42-3, I believe, if I remember right.
Ron Dane ran for what, 6,000
yards? Yeah, 650 yards. Yep. That was just, I think that was one of those that I turned over at half. And I don't
So I mean, think about that. Think about this way. You take out you could probably take out 99, 2000 to 2001 because I guarantee Iowa lost the first game in all 3 of those years.
I've got that information too. Hold on a second.
The only one I would be questioning is maybe the 2001 season.
Okay.
or the conference opener?
Okay, in 99 we lost 49-3 to Michigan State on the road. 2000 we lost 45-33 on the road to Indiana. In 2001, Iowa beat Penn State 24-18 at home.
Okay.
And now here's something that's interesting. 99, 2000, 2002, 2003, 2004, 2005, 2006, 2007. The only time Iowa played at home was 2001. Every other game away. Opener was away. Away to Michigan State, as we talked about, away to Indiana, away
one out of the first 8 years.
Yes. Away to Penn State, away to Michigan State, away to Michigan, away to Ohio State, away to Illinois, away to Wisconsin, away to Northwestern. Then in 2009, 2009, Iowa played Penn State. No, 2008, Iowa played a home game with Northwestern. So from 1999 to 2008, Iowa played 2 home games to start the season with Big Ten.
That's ridiculous.
Yep. And I can give you the Iowa scores if you're interested in any of the opening games for
that's okay.
But I did not do that for everybody else because it was just way too time consuming.
Yeah, we're getting long on the tooth here anyway. So
okay. Well, interesting things, just things to think about. Not everybody has success being at home as opposed to being on the road, like Michigan State, for example. They play better on the road to open.
Yeah. Well, it's very interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right.
For all the stat geeks, there you go. You've had your full fill for the day.
Real quick before we wrap up, congratulations to the Iowa men's baseball team. Took 2 out of 3 from Florida Atlantic over the weekend, and the women, I believe, did they win 2 as well or 3?
I didn't look up the softball yet. No, but I know that baseball team scored like 34 runs against somebody. Set a record.
Yeah, that was against Wisconsin Whitewater.
Platteville. Yeah.
Platteville. Yeah, and I think people are like, well, why were you playing a Division III school? Well, because it doesn't count, and you don't get scrimmage games prior to the season. Yeah. So you use that as a scrimmage and get a lot of those younger guys in. So it doesn't count against you if you win or lose.
Right.
So
it just gives you experience.
Yep.
Gives you a chance to play the game outside down south. And, when you can't play like today, when it's 20 degrees for a high and there's 4 or 5 inches of snow and 6 inches of snow, whatever it was that we got last week. Hence why I'm in a sweatshirt in my house. Yeah, but I keep my house cold anyway.
All right. Anything else you want to cover?
No, I think that's good. We may not have a podcast next week. I know you got things going on and I've got things going on. So we may skip a week and come back to this in a couple of weeks. So if you don't see us next week, if you do, be surprised. But if you don't be surprised.
Yeah, I've got to leave Sunday and I will be gone until Wednesday. So probably not going to happen next week unless we were able to do it. We're leaving like midday, 2:30, something like that on Sunday afternoon. So
yeah, we'll shoot for the week after. Maybe give everybody a break. Give us a break. I know we just had a break, but we'll take some time off.
Yeah. So all right. Well, with that being said, appreciate the listenership. So make sure you follow us on Spotify as well, on Facebook, all the social medias. Give us a thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Appreciate the viewership and the responses that we get. And we'll jump out of here on a Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
All right, Go Hawks.